All right. Well, hello and welcome to Solutions for the Soul podcast. I am Cherish Fields, and I'm a therapist and the Chief Operations Officer for Soul Solutions Counseling and Consulting Services.
Hey, I'm Parker Tompkins. I'm also a therapist at Soul Solutions as well as the clinical director. Happy to be here for another podcast episode.
Yes, and today our topic, we are going to be talking about healing out loud.
Healing out loud. I feel like the epitome of where all the stigma comes from with therapy, because healing out loud is not comfortable all the time, for sure.
Absolutely. A lot of us walk around and we feel like we got to hold it all in. And it's sometimes we don't really understand that holding things in doesn't heal us. And also holding things in doesn't help anyone else. Not even ourselves, right?
Right.
So I think this was an important discussion and topic to share with our listeners because this touches across the board, whether you are a professional, a person, a potential clients, whoever you are, no matter how you walk a life you come from, this is, for this person, for you. And I think that this is a part of almost like a movement, because what we see now is like mental health is, I don't know if you see it, it's like catching traction. Like a lot of people are now open, and that's a part of healing out loud too, is like a lot more people are coming out and talking about their stories, talking about the things that they've endured and experienced. And I know some people I've heard, I'm like, oh wow, and it is healing when you hear someone else go through something similar. It gives you this recognition of, oh, I didn't recognize that there's somebody else, who has also experienced something similar. And it helps you not feel so alone.
I agree. I think not only does it kind of create that relatability and connectivity by letting you know that other people go through the same experiences or similar struggles, but I feel like even before that, internally, it's very validating to be like, okay, so this is where all this stuff is coming from, right? Because when we talk about healing out loud, I think we often consider why people don't heal out loud and all of the repression and suppression and a lot of shame cycles that just come from not wanting to express or not wanting to feel like there is anything wrong. But when we heal out loud and when we can kind of get that validation and affirmation that, okay, because you went through X, Y, and Z, this is why you have a hard time in relationships. This is why you have a hard time regulating your own emotions, because it's been pushed down for so long. But I think what people don't understand is just because we push something down doesn't mean it went anywhere. Right. In fact, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't
go nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not moving. And that can feel, well, when you first start doing that, you just, okay. And it feels, and I go for experience, pressing stuff down, you just kind of like got to keep moving. You're not thinking about it, right? You're just like, okay, I'm busy. Almost like, I know it. I know you're pulling on me. I know you need something, but hold on. And then you forget about it.
Yeah.
Right?
It almost like tricks people into thinking it's not a big deal right now, because I can just leave it alone. I got responsibilities to tend to, but things keep coming up. And this is one thing I definitely stress to my clients, like, you can ignore, you can push away, you can put it in a back seat. It is going to continue to show up in ways that you don't like until you deal with it in ways that are healthy and favorable. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that when you think about healing out loud too is that it's scary. Like when you say heal out loud, it's like, what does that mean? Like, does that mean, do I just go talk to people and just start sharing, what I'm going through?
Yeah. No.
It's really I would say it's an empowering statement that moves you to action to say, I just need to speak it out loud so that I can heal. And that means finding a safe space where you can be vulnerable, or you can be challenged to be vulnerable. And I want to make sure that I say that, because just because, for instance, if when you choose to go, I don't want to say if, when you choose to go to therapy, or you choose to go to group counseling, or wherever that space is, you don't always come ready to share, right? You can even go to a event, right? And you start hearing all these stories,
Yep.
and you go because you feel okay. You feel connected. Like, maybe I'll learn something. Maybe, this may be a good space for me to be in. And then you start hearing from people, and then you're like, wait, if you hear something that connects with you, that is similar or relatable, then it's like it challenges you as you hear other people sharing. Well, maybe I can be strong enough to share too, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really powerful, because not going it alone can also help. But then also, if you come to therapy and you're talking to a therapist, that therapist is going to help you with that by creating a safe space to talk, to share, what's on your heart, what's inside, what you haven't said. I don't know how many times I've been in a session and you hear somebody kind of speed up, talk about something. It was like, hold up, bring that back.
Whoa,
slow that down. Can we say that one more time?
Yeah.
Because that's not small. That's a big thing. How did that feel?
Yeah.
And then, hold on, I wasn't trying to I was just trying to tell you real quick.
Right. Didn't even want to really sit with it and get into it. But that's what I feel like when you mentioned the safe space, and as a clinician, as a therapist trying to create that safe space, we have to do a lot of sometimes undoing these narratives that people have, kind of have rooted in themselves, that my experiences are shameful, or they're not meant to be spoken about, or this is private to the house, So we have to, in creating that safe space, we have to really challenge some of those storylines that have been ingrained in the clients and the people we work with, because there's a lot of keep this to yourself, or get through the work day, get through whatever, not time for emotions. And it's like you have to enlighten and empower people that there is a space for your mental health, and it does deserve time in your day, time in your life, contrary to what maybe the narratives have been. I have a few clients, but one in particular I'll never forget. She came to me probably around mid-30s now, and it's her first time in therapy, so we're starting to kind of get into history and things. And this woman, she's like, lost a parent here, was sexually assaulted here, loss of another thing here, job struggle, all these things that would qualify as traumatic experiences. Yet this is the first time she's even considered like trying to heal from it in a way that, utilizes professional assistance and guidance. But it's because, and we got into it a little more, there just literally has not been space for that from her perception. There hasn't been any space for that her whole life.
How did you get her to continue to feel comfortable sharing? Because you got somebody who, you said something key, and I want to bring that and expound on that a little bit. But now I'm kind of like, okay, I want to ask you a question with this, because for the person who is going to therapy for the first time, and they've gone through all this stuff and they're coming to you, how do you get them to unpack that? How do you get them to see that the narrative for which they carry is not confining, and that it's unhealthy? How do you, because when you grow up with a particular narrative or a particular belief, right? Such as what you're saying, because I'm even thinking about all the people, if you were, raised by, a family that's like, hey, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? That's just one of those belief statements that you hear, and it's like, we don't talk.
Yeah.
We don't say anything, and kind of what that can do. And so people end up just kind of carrying and adding things until they just can't anymore. So as a clinician, what do you do to create that safe space to help somebody and challenge someone to be vulnerable and unpack and undo, and just honestly, that's just courageous in itself.
Yeah, for me, and I do feel like there's a little difference in working with adults opposed to kids or teenagers, because adults have already, in a lot of ways stepped out of their family of origin and are creating their own dynamics. But a few things that I do in session one is let people kind of provide a little education on the fact that we are all operating with these narratives that have come from somewhere. And I like to use kind of lighter examples that don't feel as heavy and require healing. Like an example I use and I think about all the time. When I was a kid, my mother made me eat a spinach salad like every freaking day. And so I just knew that's what you had to do at dinner every day. When I grew up and left the house, y'all know I wasn't touching no spinach salad. It's a small example, but it's a situation where this became my normal because it was in my home all the time. Yeah. When I step out, I can now see, oh, I have a little autonomy to create a little bit of a new normal if I want something to change. And I think that applies on a bigger scale in therapy, where we have all these stories and all these rules and all these even values ingrained in us as kids and teenagers. And you have to really step out and ask yourself, how much of this do I still agree with? And how much of this would I want to maybe shift in a way that would feel better for this adult version of me now?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And I love thank you for distinguishing between a kid and an adult, because that's important too. Healing out loud for kids looks different. When you are, I can think about the stuff that I did with child welfare and when I was in the field, helping a child heal with having to go back to their environment is incredibly difficult.
Very much.
Because you're stripping that child away, or stripping what the child uses to live and survive in that environment away, telling them you can heal, but really they have not, what you key word is, they are already outside of the house, so they can determine what are they going to use and then what works for them, right? And so that's really important. Now, that's not to say that kids can't do their own healing work when they come to therapy,
right?
But I would say that we're more equipping them with skills and to cope with emotions or whatever they're going, and that can still provide that healing space. But in their healing out loud is finding someone, an adult, to trust with whatever they're carrying.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when we talk about, honestly, children or adults, and the shame that a lot of people feel for having big emotions or having emotions that they don't necessarily know what to deal with. I think when we talk about healing, the baseline of that and the foundation is having people develop their own skills to be able to talk about these hard things in a way that's not going to be so distressing or throw them off. Like, we want you to be able to heal, and that includes bringing your hardships into therapy or bringing your hardships to a trusted place. But when we bring all these things up, we want to make sure that we can handle them. And so kind of, I think, almost the precedent needs to be having those positive emotional regulation skills, knowing that this can come up in a way that now I have that safe space, like you said, to talk about it and to work through it in a way that, okay, now next time I start to feel this rising up in me, here's what I can do to, keep it here instead of getting all the way up here.
Yeah. That is a big thing as well, is a part of healing out loud is understanding your emotions. I really do think, and getting to a place or being open to understand your emotions, because a lot of times if you are a person who's been holding something in for a long time, what I have seen is that that's people come to therapy when you're in a crisis, because I'm starting to see my emotions get out of hand.
Yeah. And I'm recognizing that I can't regulate them. Sometimes people don't even know if they can or can't. But when it's like, okay, now things are happening and I don't have a grip, that's when they want to come.
Absolutely. And I want to encourage those who are listening, is like, you don't have to wait that long. You can come to therapy and seek counseling sooner. You don't even have to have an issue like things out of whack. If you just feel a little stressed and you need some help with handling that stress, the support, right? That is everybody has something to work on,
Yeah.
right? And then sometimes you don't realize that you are still battling certain things that you need to heal from until you actually go talk to someone that you feel you would have good rapport with, because I think fit is important too. But you don't even really know until you get into that relationship. That's like, oh, okay, so this therapist, they're listening to me, they hear me. Okay, I'm starting to feel safe. Something just came up. I'm gonna try to put this out here and see, and then next thing you know, when they share, it's like, oh, why? Wait, that really felt good, right?
Yeah. Which even that right there, I feel like when we talk about the narratives and everything that needs to be broken down, the way to replace some of those, I don't want to necessarily call them negative, but some of the narratives that haven't always been helpful, the only way to replace those is to literally create new ones and to show yourself like an alternative is possible.
It's possible.
Like it is possible to talk about my feelings and they be received and they be, there's some coaching on how to manage instead of they're just shut down or minimized or invalidated. We have to, I think as therapists, we have a role in showing people that that is the other side of the coin and that side exists too.
When you were talking, I was thinking about how often we walk through life and we're dealing with stuff, but you have so much going on that people kind of invalidate, right? I always used to say is like, you never know what it took for somebody to show up to that job, to that meeting, to that. So it's like being aware and sensitive to the fact that somebody's carrying something, right? That doesn't mean that you walk on eggshells, but it means that just being considerate, and when I think about that, it's like that is another reason why I think that a lot of people stray away from speaking about what they're going through or what they've gone through, rather, and being able to share that because our society hasn't always allowed for that, right? There hasn't been like and there is a space for that. There's a place for that. But there has been many messages in society that says this is unacceptable. And so sometimes the messages and the narratives that we adopt are the ones that have not been spoken.
Right.
They're the ones of how we've been treated and what we have seen and observed that we actually attach ourselves to and we personalize, right? And we internalize. So I think that, healing out loud is it's such a powerful statement, but it also takes courage. It takes, I would say, radical acceptance, because you have to get to a place where you can accept the feelings, you can accept the emotions, you can accept that what happened. And even to some extent being able to, which a professional therapist can help you do and support you through that, is being able to shift and almost like separate what was the facts versus the feelings, and understanding what was true versus what did we get lost in, and kind of unpacking things that also help you, I would say, give you a better understanding of yourself.
Definitely.
And not to, because sometimes people, the way they think they have, I don't want to say that the way they have had to move in life has been hiding versus healing.
Definitely a lot of that. And I think too, it almost sends a message about what people deserve, kind of, do I deserve to have support in overcoming this or moving past this, or is this something that I'm just supposed to accept as a part of life? I appreciate that you mentioned the just radical acceptance, because one, you have to be, we talked about regulating emotions, but you first have to be able to recognize emotions first before we even get them under control.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of discomfort in sitting and acknowledging, like, I'm having this negative emotion. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling embarrassed. Like, it doesn't feel good to just sit and say, okay, this is what I'm feeling, because then it's like, now what? But I think it's really important that people have a little bit more acceptance, and that's something that therapeutic support can, can obviously offer help with, in just what I'm feeling and then where these things are coming from. I'll hear a lot, and I think a lot of it is cognitive. I'm thinking a lot of just kind of CBT things, because with these narratives, and I work with clients that have these storylines like, well, I don't deserve whatever the case may be. I'm not going to find a positive relationship, or, I'm not smart enough for this job. And one of the first things I ask people is, who told you that? Did somebody say that to you? Is this an internal dialogue? Is this something that you're made to feel because of society? Like, where is it actually coming from? And once we kind of identify that source, you can challenge it a little bit and really get into the healing, because not every narrative or thought or storyline we have is accurate and is not always helpful.
Right.
So being
right.
able to distinguish and kind of separate, like you said, for sure.
Yeah. And understanding when you do share and you take that time, you have to face your fear almost. Like, I think we suppress things, going back to kind of what you were saying, suppress, repress, all of these things with our emotions. And we get to a place where we feel like we don't have a grasp or we can't regulate, is because we're scared of them. We're scared of emotion because we haven't seen emotion. Sometimes we haven't seen emotion in our home.
Right.
Sometimes we have the narratives also from the standpoint of what emotions do you have. Just depends on what you grew up with and what you feel free to be able to share.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it is fear of acceptance, fear of, well, if I feel this, then what?
Right.
And sometimes emotions can make you feel like you don't have any control. And it is fearful to have to trust everything. And that's a level of vulnerability that is heavy, right?
Yeah.
Because you not only have to, experience these emotions that have been inside, but you also got to trust that the person that you're sharing with is not going to judge you,
Right.
is going to be open arms with you, is not going to make you feel bad,
Yeah.
right? And all these things. And that can be a lot. It can be overwhelming, right?
100%. Ivan, the kind of fear that you mentioned is making me think about when we talk about the barriers to healing out loud, because there are a lot, and we've kind of identified just some stigma and shame cycles, but what we haven't touched on a ton are what people are doing instead, because there are a lot of ways that, and I'm I guess thinking a little outside of repressing things and kind of putting things on the back burner, but there are a lot of real things people are doing that they are trying to cope, heal, whatever it feels like in the moment, but it's not really getting at the root. And I think we, as a clinician, I see a lot of just these strategies that people lean towards to cope that are, quite maladaptive when you look at the big picture. But from their perspective, the fear of facing the emotions or the fear of the vulnerability in therapy might turn them in a different direction. So, what are your kind of thoughts about just some of the ways that people tend to almost heal in private instead of healing out loud?
Yeah. Yeah, I think in those things, what we call in therapy is maladaptive coping skills. I don't have the coping skills that I need. So what I do is I lean on the things around me. So depending on my environment, I may go get a bottle. And sometimes it's a habit, because if I grew up around it and I see everybody else chucking and
That's what we do. Yeah.
go to work, you come home, you get your drink, and then you see that, oh, that must be how I cope, right? I may cope by smoking. I may cope by watching, adult content. I may cope by harming. All these things, and it's not that it's bad per se. It's that sometimes it's what people know, and it's just honestly an indication that maybe you were not taught or equipped with the proper skills to be able to experience. I want to say it like this: you haven't been taught or equipped to have a human experience and understand that emotions and feelings are a natural function of who you are, and not necessarily the defining.
I agree. I agree. And I like that you said emotions and feelings are are natural. Like we're born, we're gonna have them, but what we don't have is the ability to regulate them all the time,
Yes.
or the ability to like trust that somebody else would meet us with this validation and openness to support us in regulating. And I think, think of it as any other skill. When you're 2 years old, you don't know how to manage your emotions, and that's not something you just wake up and know one day.
Right.
You really do have to be taught, and it has to be modeled for you in a way that is healthy. And I think if there were a little bit more, if there was a little bit more modeling of that, people would feel more comfortable to heal out loud and to heal in the ways that feel like they are getting at the problem in a moving forward type way, instead of being stuck in these cycles of all the Band-Aid fixes, like we say.
Yeah.
Sure, the bottle might feel good for 2 hours, not going to feel good tomorrow, or and it's not going to resolve the hurt that really we're trying to cover up.
Yeah.
So I think that's where kind of the next step is taken for a lot of people.
And if that is how people have coped, if that's what you know that you've coped, there's still assistance. It's not where, I'm too far gone. Nobody's ever too far gone. If these have been habits or things that you picked up along the way, if it's helped you, it's helped you in those moments. But we're here to also empower that there's further support to get you from using things that may harm you to getting you tools, practical tools. And then also, I like to call it a paradigm shift, right? Helping you think about things a little bit differently to equip you to handle the tough things and have someone there where we create a safe space so that you can. It's like kind of like, groups, right? You go to groups and then you're talking to people who they cope the same way you do.
Right.
And then there's power. It's like, right? And it's like, okay, well then how do because sometimes when you have, those coping skills that aren't the best, it's hard to turn back. The shame is so deep that it's like, it's hard for me to let this go because this is what I know. This is what feels good to me right now. This is what eliminates the negative or pushes it down further when I didn't have the space to, even though I hate the cycle of how I feel maybe when I get up, or maybe if, something is going too far, I might not like that part, but I get back to the good part that I feel, right? That relief is so important. When I hear someone else who have endured that, I get perspective from someone else, and that perspective helps me to heal, helps me to not feel isolated, helps me to recognize sometimes what am I doing? And then if I hear other people who have healed and have taken their journey further, I'm even encouraged. I may be inspired. I may be ready, because you're modeling, right? In a group space, it's modeling like, you can get here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think you're right. Absolutely. There's something contagious about like seeing other people's resilience. And I think that's another, important value that I know we try to instill, just being very person-centered and client-focused. And I feel like in that, I always try to highlight strengths. It's very easy for us to ruminate or to put extra focus on the things that aren't working well and the things that are not, going in our favor. But having a little bit of a strengths focused approach, and it's not going to be realistic all the time, right? Sometimes things suck. Sometimes things feel bad. But being able to say, look at how much has sucked and you still here, getting the day done, upholding your responsibilities, doing what you need to do. I think people need to feel that almost kind of boost, that there's a lot to be said about the fact that you've been through all of this and are still willing to have a conversation about it, prioritize yourself. It's a big deal. It's no small feat at all.
I'm thinking about other stigmas within groups of how not only the narratives, but how it stretches across, like therapy means you're crazy.
Yes.
If I go talk to somebody, that means I done lost my mind, so I got to stay away from that. So not going to therapy helps me to, feel like I ain't there yet.
That's so real.
I ain't got. And it's almost like what I've seen is like therapy equates to psychiatric, and that's not true. It's a differentiation. That's a whole nother level. Like, right. And so, and even that I wouldn't say is necessarily bad. That's just the support level you may need, depending on your situation. But a lot of people stray away from seeking therapy honestly, just off of some groups, it's just like, not just I don't talk, but no, I'm gonna be judged, or you don't talk to somebody else about this because they
Right.
gonna see you as crazy, or that means you crazy because the group culturally, there has been this messaging, right, a narrative on a larger level that this is what this means, and
Right.
this is how this is defined, and that's not true.
No, not at all. And it's kind of tricky to offer that in a way that feels genuine, because I also think there's a stigma with therapists of, oh, of course we're going to say things like judgment free zone or safe space, things like that, but being able to really let them feel that that is real. Even when we were talking about some of the maladaptive, I get a sense that people feel nervous or shameful to bring that kind of stuff to therapy. Oh, the therapist is going to say I'm smoking too much or da-da-da. And that's not the case at all. And, we both work with substance use too and addiction. And I feel like it's very, I accept and welcome and want the vulnerability of, let's see what you are doing and how it's serving you, right? Whether positively or negatively. And then we can kind of get at building, as the therapeutic rapport continues to increase, and building that relationship. Like, now you're seeing that I'm not here judging you for what you did over the weekend. I'm here because I want to see, is this helpful for you in implementing the change that you want to see in yourself, and how can we move that needle a little bit? For sure.
I'm even thinking on the side of the professional, the therapist, in regards to healing out loud, is also, how do we show up in sessions to be able to model that ability for somebody to show up? I keep hearing authentic, right? Like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, period. Like, hey, yep, I know I'm in survival mode and I have not touched none of my stuff. And it's like, okay. And because society will tell you you're not there yet.
Right.
It's not enough. You haven't done enough. Oh, you're behind, and all of these things that people tend to feel. And being able to find a therapist that can say, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
You feel like if that's how you feel, versus trying to change someone's mind or change how someone feels. Being truly accepting and saying, I actually appreciate when you come and you being exactly where you are. Like, hey, or if you have a habit and you're going to get your drink, okay. Just be real.
Be real.
And
because that's what's going to make the best use of your time too. As somebody seeking therapy, you don't want to be presenting this like false narrative. Show up authentically, because that's where we can see where any lapses are in the sense of what you want to be different. Our job is not to tell you what to change, and our job is not to tell you how to heal. I think our job is a little bit more to show a spectrum of options and a spectrum of tools and strategies that may help, and just help people consider, how is what I'm doing impacting me? And how is what I have been through impacting me? I think there's a lot of kind of lack of connection where people just think, oh, I'm depressed every day, or my mind won't stop going. I always feel anxious. Why? That's not for no reason ever. That's not ever for no reason. So us having the skills and the knowledge as professionals to take a little bit more, even sometimes of a psychoanalytical approach of like, what happened here and why is it manifesting as this right now. And I think a lot of times for a lot of people, it's a lack of healing out loud that has happened. A lot of things that people have been through, and just not ever really taking the step to say, this is what it is. This is where I'm at. I'm struggling. Life does not feel great right now. What can I do from here?
Yeah. And I think on the professional side, I think what people think is that professionals, when we show up, like we're perfect or we have things together. And I appreciate, like, when my clients, I start a session, how are you? You know what? I'm good. Thank you. Right. And it's, I've actually even been challenged with sometimes it's be like, well, how do you take care of yourself? You take care of all of us. Right. And it's like, even in the concept of healing out loud, I have to think like, okay, ethically, how do I share with you? Like, to say, you know what? I am taking good care of myself. Like I'm doing good. I'll say, like, you know what, I had me a break and I'm filled up. I'm ready for you.
Yeah. Modeling that self-care.
Yeah. But staying professional, but knowing, hey, I'm I'm human,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I love what I do and what we get to do with Soul Solutions, and I think it's you have to that transparency, giving respect, creating a safe place, and helping someone know that growth is possible.
Definitely, yeah.
Um,
I feel like I'm quite open with my clients, when relevant, of course, about my therapeutic journey. And I feel like I fell into the bucket that you were speaking about a little bit earlier, where I wasn't in crisis necessarily. Things weren't falling apart, but I engaged in therapy for about like a little under a year, maybe 8 or 9 months, because I just felt like I wanted to have a little bit more grasp on the things that kept popping up for me, right? It didn't even necessarily have to be huge trauma or things, but just as I was emerging in my career and emerging in everything, just wanting to have a little bit of that guidance. And even apart from whatever I was dealing with, having that hour a week or every 2 weeks or every month, whatever it is that feels best for you, that was about me.
Yeah.
And not in a selfish way, but in a way that it's okay to be a little selfish when it comes to my mental health. Like, we do pour into others, and I think it's important for people and clients and anybody to recognize that we can do that because we also take time for ourselves and pour into ourselves.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times you said selfish, and it's so funny when it comes to self-care. I don't know how many times I've had to distinguish, like, being selfish and self-centered is two different things.
Selfish is not bad.
Selfish is not bad.
Right.
Self-centered, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's that slogan is like, you can't give out of an empty cup. And so if you're not full, or you're not picking activities or things that make you happy, or around people that help you and challenge you and make you better, and these things, you're not going to be full. You're going to be empty. So when you're trying to give to someone else, sometimes, the healing starts when you can recognize that you need to be a little selfish, and have that time to yourself. I love when I work with clients and they are modeling for their children to say, this is mommy's time.
I was just going to talk about mothers. Yes, for sure.
This is mommy's time. So I'll see you in an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, good for you.
I had a friend one time that said, I'll never forget it. It cracked me up because she would say, when I have kids, I'm not telling my kids to go to their room. I'm going to my room to take a break. I'll see y'all later. I'm going to go to my room.
Sure.
But it's important. And it's not people, what I want people to realize is it's not sustainable to have it any other way. It's not sustainable to not be pouring into yourself, or to not be able to turn everything off for a little bit and have those boundaries. I mean, it literally isn't. A crash will come, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, whether it's just you're at a breaking point. These things are very intentional because we have to be intentional about the way that we heal ourselves and the way that we, show up emotionally. I think I see a lot of emotional reactivity, just kind of dysregulated piece when people know that they have been through something, but also know that they haven't taken any steps to really resolve or to try to reconcile some of the hard emotions that come with it. And it almost presents more emotions because it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating as a person, as a client, as an individual, when you have this trauma or you have this historical pattern that is harmful and you're just stuck in it and we're not even trying to get out of it. It's discouraging. It can just feel bad. But I think having the courage to take that first step and say, hey, let me at least see what a therapeutic space might have to offer me, or this natural support that has always said, I'm here for you. Like, being able to have that vulnerability, even when it's not comfortable or natural at the beginning, but just seeing what it gets you.
And starting where you are. You said something so I was like excited inside. You said, when we heal ourselves. And so of course I'm like, our name, Soul Solutions, solutions for the soul. Soul and self, right? And so many of us look externally for the answer for the healing, right? We go to doctors, heal me, right? We go somewhere else thinking, okay, can you fix me? Can you fix it? Whatever the case may be. And there is appropriate things that you go and you seek assistance on your healing journey. But I think there's even a paradigm shift when it comes to that, and understanding that when it comes to mental health, we can equip you with tools, and we are here to listen, but a part of that healing comes from within you.
The most of it comes from within you, for sure.
It starts with you,
Yeah.
and you literally can do it yourself, and we're here to support that journey. And so
I agree.
even just in hearing and talking about healing out loud, you don't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
But you do, and you have the power for yourself,
For yourself.
and within yourself,
Yes,
right? And so
absolutely.
it's okay to reach out and seek that support and that help, and starting wherever you are, right? Like if you, like you said, a trusted friend, and just start there, and then let it build. And then of course, just knowing that therapy doesn't make you crazy. Therapy is not for a crisis.
Right.
Therapy is not this, I don't know, I guess this unreachable thing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like, no, this only certain people go to
Right.
therapy, or I could never do that. Like, we are human. We're not these high and mighty professionals that are looking down on people.
Yeah,
Like
not at all.
that's not it at all. If anything, it's really about how can I support you. It's about serving, clients. And even as a therapist, right, it's thinking of it in a way of like, how can I model, that,
Yeah.
right? How can I model the ability for someone to come to therapy
Yeah.
and be able to speak on things that I always tell my clients at the end of my session, like, thank you so much for sharing this with me.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you
for sure.
for the privilege that it is to just be a part of your story and walk with you.
Yeah, and that is, I think, to answer your point, I think that is a way that we model. And I know for me, I do that starting from the jump. When I get an inquiry, when somebody's like, "Hey, are you accepting clients?" I'm excited, because I'm like, "Wow, you want to work on you. You want to spend time with you." And I make sure to kind of reinforce that always from the jump, I'm so happy that you reached out. Like, I'm
Yes.
so glad that you are even considering, taking this time for yourself. Like, let's talk about it. But letting them know that that is recognized, and that people see value in that,
Yes.
literally from day one.
Yes.
And that's something, I agree. Like, every time something is shared in session, I appreciate your trust in me for sharing that. I appreciate you being vulnerable. I appreciate you being in a reflective mindset, so where you're even receptive, right, to what therapy is and to what it can be. So I get excited, and I want people to know that from me, so that they say, especially those clients who might have come from different backgrounds of, feelings are away. We're not celebrating them. We're not acknowledging them. I'm like, we're celebrating. You're sad? Let's talk about it. Like, yes, it's okay, because it's real.
Yeah.
And it's a universal experience to go through multiple emotions. And I think that if everyone had a little bit more acceptance of, some days are going to feel a little challenging. Some days I might feel in my head a little more. Some days I might feel invincible. I'm on top of the world. But human nature, things are going to fluctuate, and it's not all going to just be this consistent line all the time. And learning how to navigate that takes time. And again, it's something that has to be learned. It's not just an automatic thing.
But the key component is that when you heal out loud, you don't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You trust people. There's this process. I feel like healing out loud speaks to so many levels when you really look at it, because I have to trust my environment. I have to, whatever environment I put myself in, right, if I choose to do this, I have to trust that I'm not going to be scared of what I just said. I have to trust myself that I can hold this.
Yeah.
I have to trust that other people who I'm sharing with can hold it, right, or a person. I have to trust that I'm going to make it through the other end of it, right? I have to trust so much
To heal out loud.
to heal out loud. And it may seem scary, but it is so relieving. I have experienced parts of that, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
and you just see, I think you learn a deeper level of who you are when you heal out loud instead of
Definitely.
trying to heal, because you got people who will try to heal themselves by themselves.
Yeah.
And you can.
Sure.
You absolutely can. If that it's not, everybody doesn't need that level of help, because you have, if you have family, if you have other people in your life, absolutely, right? But I think that healing out loud is just that piece of like not keeping it contained, not keeping it in. But when you actually can release it,
Yeah.
right? Release, accept, release. You just see a different part of yourself, and you
Yeah.
get to experience that, right? And I think that's the beautiful part, is you get to see yourself unveiled almost. And that's
Yeah.
what I get excited about. I always tell people, I believe that my purpose is when people have gone through experience that have buried them, we get to unpack things so that they can remember, you know what? I'm powerful, and I just needed the ability to remove what was that was on me, so that I could really see myself in my my realest form,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
And not everything else that's been pushed on me.
Yeah.
You know, I can decipher what's mine, what's somebody else's. This don't belong to me. Hold on, this is me, and this is
Yeah.
how I choose to show up. I get to choose,
Yeah.
right? And so that healing out loud does something to you. And
It's
I
like
think that's
it's a huge service to yourself. It's a huge
for
gift to
sure.
give yourself, to heal out loud and to be able to say, you know, this is not shameful. This is not something that needs to be a secret. I will be accepted for the things that I've been through. It's like giving yourself a big old hug.
Right,
Seriously.
absolutely.
Seriously, it is. It's a powerful and beautiful thing, and definitely takes some vulnerability, as we've mentioned, and some courage. But I think that kind of reward and relief that can be experienced from not even just healing, right? I think a lot of people think, you know, we start therapy, what's the end of therapy going to look like? I don't even think that that's the picture that people should be looking at, but just what things can improve from just step by step pouring into myself, step by step opening up myself to somebody else to support my healing journey. I mean, it's really a gift. It's a great gift.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we close, you know, I want to be able to highlight that we here at Soul Solutions Counseling and Consultant Services are here to offer that support. We are in the state of North Carolina and serve all across the state, and we are expanding as well. And so I want to make sure that I want to empower you if you are a person who has been holding in, if you are a professional that needs support because you serving everybody else. We are here. We are equipped. We are licensed. Some of us are dually licensed, licensed in substance abuse and addiction counseling, as well as licensed in mental health and psychotherapy. We want to be able to serve you. We want to be a support to you on your healing journey. We are integrative practice, so we have other services that we can offer as well. I do want to make sure that I point you to our website here at soulsolutionsccs.com. Check us out. We also have an Instagram page. Follow us. We are also on TikTok. Follow us there as well. And I'll make sure that that is available to all. If as you listen and look us up, all of that stuff is on our website. So we totally appreciate you, Parker. I appreciate you for sharing. Always a pleasure to get with you
always
and
a pleasure.
share with our listeners all this great information. And we just want to encourage you to heal out
Heal
loud.
out loud. Yes.
Heal out loud.
Heal out loud.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening. Bye.